DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service, moving forward.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of DETV Sports. We are back on a Monday night, and we are here to recap the divisional round. Got some NBA talk. We'll preview the conference championships and some also coaching news going around the NFL. So a lot to get to in the world of sports. We are back here at our Wilmington studios. Nick Alessandrini, Jason McCall, Matthew Maurer, and of course Dennis Pritchett behind the glass running the show as usual. So guys, here we go. Good weekend for both of you. We're going to dive right into it here on a Monday night. Jason, before we start, how's everything going for you? Big win for your Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about Mad San Francisco 49ers here in just a second. But what'd you get into over the weekend, and how are you doing here on a Monday?
Well, you know, the weather shelved all plans for this past weekend, and that's quite okay with me. I got a chance to stay in the house and just to relax for a change, and not do anything. I don't know, it's weird for me to say to you guys, but I do also enjoy doing nothing at times. So being able to watch football, you know, all weekend long and catch up on some college basketball and some NBA stuff, it's pretty good. So I had a great weekend.
And we'll recap his Baltimore Ravens win over C.J. Stroud and Houston Texans in Baltimore here in just a few minutes. With that being said, Matthew Maurer, welcome back.
Appreciate you.
Another show, another win for your San Francisco 49ers. They, though, had to earn this one. Jordan Love and company going on the road. What a game that was. Maybe the best game of the weekend. But the Niners hold on. How you feeling after that performance? Back to the NFC Championship game for, what is it, 3 out of the last four years? Four to five?
4 out of the last 5.
4 out of the last 5.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, but we got job not done, man. Like Kobe, job not done. We still got more to do. So I'm not like, and I'm not throwing no shade. Not like the Detroit fans. This is regular for us. We gotta take it to the next level.
There's a difference there, that's for sure.
There's a difference. So if we don't get the championship this year, it's an L. That's how I see it. Because we honestly, just long term, this is probably the best that we're gonna have. We got guys that got contracts, and then you got like just age. Trent Williams is getting older, so yeah, we gotta get it done.
Speaking of not being like Detroit fans, what is this Honolulu blue you have on here? What's this, sir?
I'm transferring. You know, I got to make the playoffs. You know, remain fun in some way, shape, or form for me. I got no horse in the race. You know, with the 4 teams remaining, you know, not too really appealing. So I'm going to roll with the Detroit Lions. As you guys know, big NFL fan. I have a fair share of different jerseys in the closet. As Matt knows, I had a Deebo Samuel jersey on earlier this year.
I ain't seen the Ravens jersey.
Not yet. I got Joe Flacco.
Oh, that doesn't.
Why ain't you wearing the Deebo jersey now, man? What you trying to do? The hate is there.
We're getting to the picks, and we're going to get to how we think this game will unfold. I'm rooting hard for the Detroit Lions. We'll see how it works out for Detroit in this one. They're going to have to go on the road. Jared Goff going to play outdoors for the first time this playoff season in San Fran next week. We're going to highlight that. We're going to get into a lot of other things as well. We'll talk about some of the Super Bowl odds going forward. The Niners still the favorites to win the Super Bowl over Baltimore, I believe, as it stands right now. So, again, the Ravens continuing to put on displays good football, but still not getting maybe all the love that Jason might think they earned. But those two teams still sitting at the top of all the Vegas odds, at the top of everybody's minds in terms of making the Super Bowl. So we'll highlight all that. So a lot to get into, and let's start with a recap of what we saw over the weekend. And we'll start with Jason's Baltimore Ravens, who welcome in C.J. Stroud and the Texans. And the Ravens going into this one, 9.5-point favorites at home. A little bit of wind there today, but the weather not too bad. Football conditions. C.J. Stroud has been incredible so far this season, a rookie with head coach D'Amico Ryans. Jason, we talked about it coming in. C.J. Stroud, a 9.5-point favorite in this game on the road against your boy Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. C.J. Stroud may never be a 9.5-point underdog ever again in his career with how well he's played going forward with this Texans team that won a division. That's a real thing. Made it look easy, at least not in the first half. It was 10-10. They said Lamar got on some of those boys in the half in the locker room, and they came out, blow them out in the second half. What did you think of the Ravens' performance there, and were you worried maybe 10-10 at halftime?
No, I wasn't worried 10-10 at halftime because I had a feeling that it was going to go that way to start off. D'Amico Ryans is a great defensive coordinator. and they have pieces on defense there in Houston. So it was more of a, when you play a team for the second time, you may have watched some film on some things, and you figured out a few schemes here or there. So the first half was honestly what I expected. Now the second half, again, was also what I expected because of the fact that I know that the Ravens are actually a very good third quarter team, and they just kept the foot on the gas the rest of the game. And yes, Lamar had to say a few choice words in the locker room, but that's okay. As he said after the game, looking forward to next week's game, just stay locked in. That's been his motto all playoff long, just stay locked in. So that's what we're doing in Baltimore. Meet us at the bank, cash, credit, check, however you want it. We can take it from you. So very happy with the performance. The defense, again, was outstanding. And let's give Lamar Jackson the same credit you give everybody else for having those kind of games. He's the first quarterback in NFL history who was two rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns,
Man, 2 and 2.
and having 100 yards passing, 100 yards rushing in a single playoff game. That's Action Jackson. So what he does. So it's the unveiling of the newest MVP again for a second time, as he just turned 27 about a week and a half ago. So he's in that rarefied air that only one other quarterback can speak to, which is Pat Mahomes, as far as having 2 MVPs by the time they're 27 years old. And it's time to stop the Josh Allen's better than Lamar talk once and for all. This he's already had MVP before Josh Allen did. Josh Allen has numbers, but they're hollow. We got to stop that now, because you give Josh Allen way more credit than you do Lamar Jackson. And it's showing up. In their last 17 games, full season, you compare both players, 17 interceptions to only 7 interceptions. Let's talk about that. So, and when Lamar's on the field, all he does is win football games for the Ravens. So
Yeah, no denying that.
So, but looking forward to next Sunday at 3 p.m. Because you have to be the man, you got to beat the man. So, ready.
That is going to be a fun one. We'll talk a little about the Chiefs here with Matt momentarily. Matt, you had a chance to check out the Ravens game in that win over Houston as well. Your guys played a little bit later on in that day. Lamar on his way, Matt, to what is believed to be his second MVP. In the last 4 years, had the first one back in 2019, as Jason alluded to. Just 2 quick questions for you here. The first one is, do you think if he were to win MVP, should it be unanimous? I mean, he did it back in 2019. It didn't seem like there were a lot of guys. Brock Purdy maybe was in Dak Prescott in that second kind of, right behind him, that second level behind Lamar Jackson. But he's kind of run away with this thing, and he's looked good. They win that big playoff game there. Your thoughts on the Ravens going forward here in the playoffs, and if you think Lamar Jackson should be unanimous MVP this year, if not just the MVP?
I mean, I think the funny thing about the MVP award is people like to arrange things. You see this in basketball too. People like to arrange things based on what they think is valuable. So, like, I've heard like the metrics. Oh, this is, if Lamar wins it, it'd be the lowest total passing touchdowns. But I also think that Lamar is a little different. He kind of breaks regular metrics. He's not like a guy that you can say, okay, Pat Mahomes, this is what he did. Lamar and Pat Mahomes don't have the same numbers. Well, if you look at it from just the passing, sure, I could see why you say that. But if you account in everything, I think it's a little different conversation. And that's why I think is the thing with Lamar is people aren't used to seeing a QB that's like this. I mean, I think we had sprinkles of it with Steve McNair, Michael Vick, Steve Young, Randall Cunningham, but we never really had somebody who was going in, getting wins. Like, those guys got wins here and there, but they weren't like on most of their careers. They weren't like on contenders, with the exception of probably Steve Young. But other than that, I mean, most of these guys were fighting. Randall Cunningham definitely was fighting. So, and at that time, there was a lot of conventional wisdom that was thrown out there from, we'll just call it the gatekeepers of what the perception of a QB is supposed to be. So now I think that stigma has gone away a little bit. I think, people have to embrace the way that the quarterback's viewed now differently. So I don't think it's viewed. I don't think you can view it the same way you did like 1990, 1995. I just think it's totally different now. I think guys like Lamar have done that with the way they play.
Yeah, I think the position as a whole, Jason, quarterbacks, you have to be almost that athletic now, that fast. It's the DNs running 4.4s nowadays here in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new wave, and I got to give credit to another quarterback recently prior to Lamar, and Cam Newton. His thing allowed Lamar to play the way he plays now, too. Let's not forget Cam Newton was also an MVP of his league and took a 15-1 team to the Super Bowl. So you look at players like that, and, Lamar stands on the shoulders of other great black quarterbacks, as Matt alluded to. I mean, you can throw out a few more names. Like, I mean, Jeff Blick had a nice run. There are plenty of quarterbacks I can go down the line and name. Warren Moon. Even Rodney Peete for a short, hot minute in Detroit when they were the last time in the NFC Championship game, 91. He's on that roster. That's just
Randall. Got to give
Randall that out there. But Randall's definitely getting some love. Randall is the blueprint.
Yeah.
Randall's the blueprint. Vic was the predecessor, and now Lamar is the 3.0, if you will, of that type of quarterback. But without Lamar Jackson on the Ravens roster, this isn't even a 5-win team. Let's just be honest about it. Like Lamar, the energy around Lamar and the pieces around Lamar, the team is built around him. Without him for a full season, this is a 5-12 team easy. He's that important. So when you talk about most valuable, you have to look at all the intangibles. And for the fact that this is his first playoff game since the 2020 divisional round.
That surprised me a lot here.
I told you that he's been 3 years he's hurt. So this is why he has that renewed energy, that vigor, that drive to prove doubters wrong, but it really just proved himself right. And the pairing of him and Todd Monken is like a match made in heaven because he allows Lamar to be Lamar. I think you spent the first half of the season studying him and learning him. And now you're okay, you know what? I know what you can do. Let me add these wrinkles here, wrinkle there. Because you see something different every game the last 6-7 weeks. It's like, oh, didn't know we had that in our package. Like you can see that he's growing with his command of the team, but him able to change plays, a line of scrimmage, things like that. So, and let's not forget, he just turned 27. He's about to win his second MVP, and still hasn't hit his quote-unquote actual prime yet. That's the scary part about the NFL. He's not really in his prime yet. So you think this season was great. He'll have the quarterbacking numbers, if you will, probably next season to go along with everything he already does. So yet to be seen, but I'm happy for the Ravens. I'm happy for the fans of Baltimore to actually, have something to look forward to right now in the city. And it's a galvanizing time back home to see all the fans and different people happy about stuff and, give us something to look forward to. So it's already a good time.
And, it seems like just yesterday that we were having conversations during the offseason about, how much money should they give Lamar? Should they give him all the guaranteed money, that he wanted? And there were a lot of people that said they shouldn't, and a lot of people that said he's going to go elsewhere. Yeah, they didn't want him. They were going to trade him, and here he goes right after he signs that deal, MVP season, and now, one game away from going back to the Super Bowl. What a season it's been so far. Lamar, we'll see how they cap it off in Baltimore here in the next couple weeks. That'll take us now to San Francisco. They take care of business, and again, in a dangerous game against one of the hottest teams in football, the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love been maybe the hottest quarterback in football since week 11 of the regular season, but the Niners are able to hold on 24-21 out in San Francisco. It was a game that the Packers were leading. The Niners scored the final 10 points of the game to win it 24-21. Packers played well. They were well coached there in that game, and Carlson missed field goal not gives the Niners the win, but sets it up for the Niners to take home the victory. And I was telling you, Matt, before we went on the air, when you're able to get through a game like that, one that you maybe could have argued statistically or, the numbers that you could have lost or should have lost, and the Niners were able to overcome that, I said, I think that's enough for them to go on. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl now. How do you feel? What did you see out of that game, out of your Niners? You feel better or worse now going forward after that performance on Saturday night?
I mean, honestly, I feel great. I mean, they I didn't like the performance, but I did like the fact that they continued to truck on, and in the fourth quarter finally got it together. I mean, they looked like I think it was Shanahan had some crazy number that like if they were
That's
under
right, yeah.
7, if they were
Down
under
by
7,
points or
5,
something,
yeah,
in the
they were
fourth quarter.
30, 0 and 30.
0-30.
Yeah, and so I think you're seeing, that he has faith in Brock Purdy, that he has faith in the offense, that he has faith that what these guys can do. And, there were plays that Brock Purdy had in that game that were shaky. He looked like he struggled with the rain. He was having problems. I mean, he had the glove on in the first half, took it off, was having grip issues. He made some bad throws. But the thing about Brock Purdy, and I've talked about this a lot with him, and it's the one thing I think, because many people have said to me, what's different than him and Jimmy G and some of the other guys? I think the thing about Brock Purdy that's different is that his mind is different. You can't beat him the same way. It's weird. I wish he could make those adjustments on the fly when it happens, but once he just starts to really settle in and get himself together in a game, the best defense that the upcoming Lions could have is to speed him up. If you can speed him up, you have a chance. If you don't speed him up and he sits back there and he gets time, he's a problem. That's going to be an issue. Now, let me also just say this, because we talked about the quarterback position and we talked about the changes of it. This is going to blow people's minds. So, like, Brock Purdy, we talked about, like, the how the quarterback position has changed. I don't think people realize just how much the quarterback has changed. So you have guys like Baker Mayfield that come in this league, Brock Purdy. Their 40-yard dashes are faster than Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. I mean, a whole generation. They're like 10 seconds past over those guys. So we're seeing what I think Lamar has brought, what other, especially black quarterbacks, has brought is they get more time in the pocket because they can get out of the pocket. They can throw on the run. You don't have to allocate as much resources in the draft to go out and get first, second, third round picks that you have to go put the O-line on. Like, I think one of the biggest investments that the Ravens have made this year was they went and they got their center, Tyler, I forget his name, Boblin?
Linderbaum, yeah.
Linderbaum.
First round pick from
We don't have any first round picks on ours. I think we have Aaron Banks, who's I think third round pick. Biggest trade we made was to get Trent Williams, which
that trade is still that trade is almost important as a CMC trade.
Absolutely, 1,000%. And without Trent Williams, we don't have a good O-line at all.
He forced his way right out of Washington at the time of that way back then, so it worked out well.
Yeah, and I think our center, I think our right guard, and I think our right tackle is where the shake is.
I was about to say, if you had to pick any area of concern, and it wouldn't be like a poor area, they're still okay up front, just not as good as they are everywhere else, around the football, Jason.
Yeah, I would say, but with this game that I saw this weekend, they played against a Green Bay team who was hungry. They're young and didn't know any better, so they gave them their best shot, and the Niners had to withstand it. So I thought the game was going to be close. And it proved to be what it was. So I knew that was going to be. I would say this: I think that the Packers game was actually their biggest test in NFC this year. I'm not sure how something's going to play out just yet. Detroit is formidable, but I just want to wait and see before I say anything. But yeah, it was a sweat out the game. All my Niners friends, they were quiet the whole time just to make sure they locked into the game, which is understandable. I was actually out watching the game, so I kind of got to enjoy it from a different lens. But yeah, it was the thing that worries me now is Debo. I do worry about Debo, but at the same time, the Niners have been so good at developing wide receivers in-house. Okay, no Debo, then that means Ayuk just goes back to his natural, leadership position in the wide receiver tree in that room, and they just do what they do anyway. So.
I think Juwan Jennings was huge in that
Juwan Jennings was very
big. The big difference. Yeah, they lost Debo. He did 5 catches, 61 yards, some big third down catches down the field for him. I thought that really kept some of those drives alive.
I got a problem though. George Kittle's dropping a lot of passes this season.
It makes a lot of big plays.
But he could make bigger plays. The ones that he's dropping are even bigger plays than the ones he's actually made. So it's like, bro, what's going on, sir? Like, get out your head for a second, because you're dropping like touchdowns now.
Yeah.
And it's real. I'm not used to getting George. He's one of my favorite tight ends in the game. So I'm like,
yeah, for sure.
What is going on here? Because this game could have been a lot further away if he catches probably 2 or 3 more passes that he dropped. So.
And I also think that most of the winners this past weekend, I think, highlighted something that I think, and again, I'm not taking shots here, just I think that teams don't, for some reason, we've got it into our mind in this era of football that we do the front. Maybe we get a cornerback here and there, and then we got guys we can scheme. If you look at the Ravens, Roquan, McQueen. If you look at the Niners, Warner, Greenlaw. If you look at KC, they have Bolton. I forget the other gentleman's name. Like, the teams that are doing really well in this league that usually have the top 5 defenses, it's because of those linebackers. You got to have those linebackers. And it's weird because I think in this era of analytics and metrics, people have thought, oh, we don't need the middle linebacker as much. Like 100%. The Bears, we're just going to give Raekwon. Like, we don't need him. Okay, you want him? Yeah, sure. We'll take him.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. I think certain teams have gotten way too smart and trusting those metrics and saying, like, oh, we can just scheme the middle linebackers. No, you saw that with the Bucs. I think the Bucs got there because they had David. They had other guys there.
He killed the Eagles, Devontae David. He was fantastic.
Yeah, like that's the thing that I think.
And that's what the Bills didn't have, was their linebacking core was injured.
Yeah, Milano was injured.
They brought A.J. Klein off the couch for last week, and he got hurt in that game.
Yeah, I think this whole series of playoffs is showing just how important the linebacker position is in this modern era of the NFL. Because we don't like to say this, but I think the middle linebacker has more responsibility now than they ever did, because now they have to play pass coverage more.
And typically, they usually have the green dot on defense, too. They're usually the guys that are bringing in the play calls or communicating with the defensive coordinator. That's been a big thing that I've seen as well this year in the playoffs is, as Matt said, linebacker was a position in the last 5 or so years that has been almost just pushed to the back burner, as Matt really just mentioned. And we're seeing all these big plays in some of these games. Greenlaw, the interception for San Fran, the gentleman that made the interception for the Lions, linebacker, he sealed the deal with that interception against Baker Mayfield. The Ravens got the 2 best backers.
Well, that's the thing. In Baltimore, we know the value of a linebacker, so we've always been linebacker heavy, but we tried to make Patrick Queen a star by himself, and he couldn't do it, which is okay. He was still good, though. But since we got Roquan. So we paired Roquan with Patrick Queen, he's been a totally different animal on the field. Like, it's like, to the Ravens fans, it's like when we had Ray and Boulware, when we had Ray and Bart Scott. I mean,
it takes you back to when the Steelers won the Super Bowl 40. James Ferrier, Larry Foote, that whole linebacking core.
So linebackers are very important, and linebackers that can run is different in the NFL
and that's
now.
And that's why Fred Warner is first team unanimous All-Pro, is because he's the best in the business at doing things like that, and it really shows, right? Because there's one team that had no linebackers or no depth at all, the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, no line, like
but you never heard line.
T.J. Edwards last year was the big difference.
But I don't remember Philadelphia ever having a star linebacker.
Well, if you think about T.J. Edwards led the team in tackles last year. He was their big guy on defensive linebacker.
Who do you think would be the best linebacker of Philly the last 10 years?
Hell, the last 20
in terms of just overall.
Yeah, best linebacker. Trotter.
I like Trotter a lot. The Axeman definitely would be.
That would have to be it.
Yeah,
I think. If you were to go back we got to think to the Super Bowl team, the team that won the Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah.
I have to go. They had some good linebackers that year too.
What, Hicks?
Jordan Hicks, Nigel Bradham might have been, but Jordan Hicks was really good that year.
Okay. Yeah.
Jordan Hicks was really good that year in terms of different things. Jeremiah Trotter probably the best run stopper, and I'll say T.J. Edwards last year was so underrated. Led the team in tackles, was great in coverage. That's why he got that big deal in the offseason to go to the Bears. He helped them out. That Bears they made great strides down the stretch too with that defense. That's the whole reason Eberflus is somehow staying in, as the coach in Chicago. But hey, we'll see what they do, and we'll talk about this maybe if we have time. The NFL draft around the corner, so a lot of our focus, or at least my focus now going forward,
is a draft.
Will be on the NFL draft.
It's not football, is it?
Yeah, that's
not actual football.
No, it's not. You're right about that, and I'm not afraid to say it. That's why here we go. Go Lions. That's how we feel right now.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about maybe some futures with some of these teams that have went home this past weekend. That might have some question marks. We're gonna throw the Bills to the back burner because we've had enough conversation.
Those are your boys.
We've had enough conversation. I know exactly what you're gonna say. We've had the same conversation. It comes down to I don't know where do they go from here. It's not like you can get rid of Josh Allen or anything like that, so I'm not really worried about the Bills. I feel like they're going to be in the same spot that they are in every year, just can't get over the hump, it seems, for Buffalo. I thought this was the year for them. If not, as you guys mentioned this year, I don't know if they can – what's going to happen going forward. The Buccaneers, though, they've got some question marks with our man Dennis here, who was running the show for us here each and every week. Big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan for everyone at home if you weren't aware. But they've got some things to go through here this offseason. One of them is Baker Mayfield. Had that one-year deal in Tampa, played very well, division champs, get a playoff win at home, and now they got to re-sign him. Matt, what do you think? They're saying anywhere from $30 to $40 million a year for Baker Mayfield. Is Tampa the right spot for him? If you're the Bucs, do you want him back after the good season he had for you this year? And how much money are you willing to give him?
I mean, that's the $1 million question. I think the thing you have to look at with him is how much do you believe his growth there? Like, I think he's definitely gotten more mature. He definitely seems to be buy into the culture down there. I just worry that Baker is Baker. And it's like, how much do you go out on a limb and you say, I'm going to give you $40 million? It's like, because whether we like to talk, we don't like to be honest about quarterbacks sometimes. Sometimes we like to be optimistic, but like, we know he's a bridge quarterback. Like, he's there till the next guy gets there. Like, I just don't know how much you want to put into him when really there's another guy.
Do you pay the bridge guy? But also, Baker isn't their biggest free agent issue. They have 12 free agents, and the biggest one is Mike Evans.
Yep.
It's not Baker.
And again, if you remember, right, they were in discussions toward the end of the season. Mike Evans gave them a deadline. Yeah. They did not meet that deadline, so he called off talks. Yeah, that didn't really end well. We'll see how that goes.
It's Mike Evans, and you don't re-sign Baker if you can't get Mike Evans back.
That's a fact.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Godwin, I think Chris might be a free agent.
Godwin's a free agent too. I mean, even play on defense. I think David's a free agent. A lot of their starters on both sides of the ball.
I would let Godwin go though.
Are free agents.
If I was
shout out to the homie.
Yeah,
I would let Godwin go only because you have who's the other guy? Scotty Miller or who's the other?
They got Trey Palmer.
Trey
Palmer is the guy.
I think Trey Palmer is pretty much the guy.
He'll be the slot guy
that can replace.
But again, Godwin, just to quickly focus on Godwin here. If I'm him, I don't know. Maybe my time is up in Tampa. You had Brady.
I think so.
Baker's great, but we talked about paying quarterbacks. If you're Baker, and we talked about this before we went on the air as well, if you're Baker, or if I'm Baker, I should say, I don't want $40 million, right? Take $25 million and let your team build you, sign some of those guys with the other $15 million. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of these quarterbacks make is they all want to make the most money. That was something that Brady and Manning and those guys really never did, and it worked out in their favor. If you're Baker, I don't think you can take the 40, even if they offered it to him. I'm not saying he won't, because I'm sure he will. I'm all for getting paid, etc. But I think you want to build this team up if you're Baker, especially if you're not a superstar quarterback.
I agree. I think Baker's best option would be to let them front load the weapons that he needs to throw to, and then get something comparable afterwards. Yeah. I think is the approach that should happen. But shout out to Todd Bowles. We're not gonna give him some credit.
Back-to-back years.
I mean, a great
division championship.
I mean, let's think about it. No one expected this post Brady this season in Tampa Bay. None of us. No one on TV. No one in real life. Anywhere.
I mean, we did our division preview. I know I had the Falcons. I think some of us had the Saints. I don't know if any of us besides Dennis had the Bucs to win that division.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crapshoot from day one. But Coach Todd Bowles had to give him
absolutely
a ton of credit. And Tampa Bay. Just a couple plays away from.
They were. I mean, a couple.
Literally, a couple plays away. There was a Mike Evans drop that cost him, and then the Baker interception, 2nd and 5 to seal the deal.
Yeah, and then that early one too. And again, Jordan Love, that was kind of the difference there. I think Purdy had no picks. I know he had some scary moments, but no interceptions in the game. Jordan Love had 2, and that was the difference in that game for the Packers and the 49ers. So just to talk here going forward, we talked about the divisional games, and now let's jump in. And let's preview what we have coming up this Sunday. Usually and typically one of my favorite Sundays of the year is Championship Sunday. 2 fantastic football games. And they should be good this year, but I'm not as excited as I am in past years. But I can tell you that these 2 guys are ready to go.
That's a fact.
So where do you guys want to start? Let's start with the Chiefs and the Ravens. We'll start in the AFC with a fantastic matchup. The Ravens now favored by 3.5 points in home. It's kind of a big deal when you get over that 3-point hook. They're at 3.5, so they still got some backing here. 44.5 is the over-under in Baltimore. So the Chiefs, they were 3-point underdogs to Buffalo this past weekend. Again, they get the victory. Mahomes over Allen. That seems to be what's going on in the playoffs. Didn't matter that it was Mahomes' first playoff game on the road. Now he's going to have number 2, a little bit harsher maybe environment. I don't know. Buffalo's pretty tough to play in, but they're going to M&T Bank Stadium. What are you looking for specifically here, Jason? What do the Ravens need to do? One, but what are your eyes going to take you to? What maybe is the X factor here in this game, or what are you most paying attention to?
We just talked about it earlier. The linebacker play on both sides. That's going to be the X factor.
That Chiefs run game?
Versus everything, the passing game, the running game, just in general. Baltimore front seven is going to have to play an awesome game this Sunday. I love our chances. I love the fact that Baltimore has so many DBs. Like you can bracket Kelsey, you can bracket Rice if you had to. You're going to have to make Pacheco beat you because I don't think throwing the ball on us I don't think it's going to be the way to go. I really don't think so. I think you're going to have to try to run up to the middle because Baltimore, where the Ravens are susceptible, is to the middle of the field with running backs, running the ball up the gut. They are susceptible to that at times. You've seen it. So I think if the Chiefs were smart, they would do that. But I don't think. To me, I just think it's the Ravens' time. Like regardless of who they play or who's in front, I'm just glad that we finally got Mahomes and Jackson in the playoffs. Yeah. This is the equivalent of the Kobe LeBron match that we never got in the finals in the NBA. But I think this is the equivalent to that in NFL. Like the two, let's be honest, the true premier black quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's just put it out there. Yeah. You got a prototypical versus an unconventional. But you still have two faces of the league. So for the NFL, it couldn't ask for a better matchup. I mean, hope it's not too scripted, but
Chiefs get some calls. I will say the Chiefs get some calls.
But they couldn't ask for a better matchup of the league's youngest stars. I mean, they're both under 30. I want to say Lamar's 27 and Patrick's 28, if you will. We're turning 28 this year, so you got two quarterbacks who will have multiple MVPs under their belt before the age of 28. Let's think about that for a second. And Pat Mahomes, again, in their 6th straight AFC Championship, he's never missed the AFC Championship as a starter. That's a crazy stat. And think about it.
That's an insane stat.
Since 2011, it's been Brady or Mahomes in the AFC Championship since 2011.
And you talked about this last week. It's the first, the first the last AFC Championship without Manning or Brady was, I think it was Ben versus Mark Sanchez?
It was Sanchez, 2010. It was Big Ben versus Mark Sanchez. And Sanchez was a rookie in the 09 squad that went to the AFC Championship game.
Let me ask you this, though. You said you like your guys' chances. You like the Ravens' chances at home. They are 3-point favorites. Almost a toss-up game, a little bit over 3 for them. You picking them to win?
Of course.
Obviously, with the 3, taking the points.
No, I mean, you can take the points.
That's when you talk to you guys about your teams, it's hard to ask you to take points or not, and I get it. So I know you're just focused on one thing. And that's
of course, but see, I don't bet on my team
and that's the thing.
During the playoffs, regular season different. During the playoffs, I know
it's tough.
You have to watch. But yes, the Ravens will win the game, and the points depend on how the first half goes. I think it was dumb of Houston to defer. To defer. Give the Ravens the ball in the second half. They wanted the ball to start the game with. That was one of their strike number 1 with Houston. Mm-hmm. You play a team like that, you want to be able to see if you're going to be down or not after halftime. I wouldn't have taken the ball first. I think that was their first mistake number 1, and it kind of showed because the Ravens got a little bit of momentum before halftime, and then the second half just came out and blew the doors off. So. Pat Mahomes is going to be a test for us. But we've beat a Pat Mahomes-led Chiefs team before with more weapons. We've beat them with Tyreek Hill in them before. So it's not like we haven't beat the Chiefs at all. And we have a record, and we have a playoff win against them anyway. If we look back to the 2010 season, we beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I know it's pre-Mahomes, but so Ravens have familiarity with beating the Chiefs regardless. It's just a matter of can we beat this team? And I think the answer is yes. I think that Mahomes hasn't been his normal Mahomes this year. And I think that teams have keyed in on certain things. He's had a lot more overthrows than he's had in the past. And when you overthrow against Baltimore, it's going the other way. And I think that he's going to be sacked a few times on Sunday.
That, to me, that's the key for me, Matt, is they can keep Patrick Mahomes clean. I think he can make the plays in the football game. I know this one's going to be a tough one for you. Obviously, you being a big Mahomes fan and thinking obviously a lot highly of the Ravens as well. This is a big game, a tight, close matchup, probably maybe the best game in the AFC we'll have all year as anticipated. How are you leaning in this one? I kind of agree with Jason a little bit. I think the run game is going to be big. I love what Pacheco's been able to do. I think that run game has been fantastic for Kansas City. And I think if you're Mahomes getting points just like they were on Sunday against the Bills, in any scenario, here he is getting 3.5, at least from a betting standpoint, I'll take Kansas City all day. How are you leaning just straight up in this matchup? Who's going to go to the Super Bowl, you think, between the Chiefs and the Ravens?
I mean, I have the Ravens taking it. But I will say this. I mean, it's Mahomes. Like, we could talk all we want, and we could say all we want, and we could say he hasn't looked the way he's usually looks. But I almost think that makes him harder because, like, we don't know what's he going to do. Like, we can say, oh, he hasn't been – and, yeah, Kelsey somehow now is, I guess, back to being somewhat serviceable because he was, like, in a malaise with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You had to say her name, didn't you?
Had to say her name.
For rating.
But I will say this. I think when you're dealing with Pat Mahomes, you know, it's funny. Jason said he's more of the classical quarterback. I think he's the unclassical. I think he's unconventional. Like, I would – if I had a son that played quarterback, I'd rather him watch Lamar Jackson if he had to emulate somebody than Pat Mahomes. Like, Pat Mahomes throws – cross
like the
field,
Steph Curry thing
cross
of basketball,
yeah, he's
right?
like the Stephen Curry. Like, I saw one play, he was running out of bounds. The guy was coming to tackle him. He switched it to his left and threw the ball. Like, he does crazy stuff. And
just to, you know, sorry to stop you there for a second, but we saw Jordan Love, you know, maybe try to do some of those things in that game, including that final play. He rolls out, tries to go all the way across his body in Mahomes fashion, lost him the game.
I want y'all to know Lamar done that too. The play that he threw a touchdown to Zay Flowers against the
sidearm.
No, that's sidearm where
that was a nice
he switched the ball
throw,
where he was running and Grigo threw left-handed, switched the ball right before right hand and threw a bomb 50 yards downfield to strike Zay Flowers. I'm like,
yeah, that was beautiful.
But I think he plays more fundamental than Pat Mahomes.
Really?
That's
a great take. I would say, like you said, I think Pat Mahomes is more of a passer compared to Lamar. But I can see what you said, the unconventional from both players.
But if I had a son playing QB, I wouldn't want him to play like Pat Mahomes. Dog. He might be on the bench, bro. like real stuff. Like, I mean, that's the problem with Pat. It's like we don't know. Is it going to be Watson? Is it going to be MVS? It's like I almost think it almost makes him a little bit more dangerous because we don't have anybody.
Spread around anybody's, yeah.
Right. But I also will say this. The Ravens have the defense that they can maybe withstand Pat Mahomes going nuclear. But that's the other scary part. We haven't seen Mahomes go nuclear. So it's like, does he have one in? Or is this going to be what it's going to be this season? I don't know. But I do pick the Ravens to win. I think they got this. I really do.
I would like to see Baltimore win. Personally, I would like to see the Ravens go back to the Super Bowl. I have the Chiefs feeling in this one. I think Mahomes, after that win against the Bills, they punted one time in that entire game on the road against Buffalo. Ravens defense is better. I agree 100%. It's a lot. Ravens defense is a lot better. I think Mahomes, though, may make the play. I think Pacheco in the run game will be different. This is the most complete team that Mahomes has had in his entire career in Kansas City with that defense and this running game. I'm going to take the Chiefs, but rooting for Jason's Baltimore Ravens this Sunday.
What threat do the Chiefs' defense pose to the Ravens' offense that you see?
What threat? I think they're going to be great. I think they're physical off the line of scrimmage. They're great against the run. The linebackers, as Matt said earlier, playing great. Nick Bolton's been fantastic. L'Jarius Sneed, if he's healthy, I think he should be good to go this week. I think he's around 75%. I think he'll be good. And I think Stack Spagnuolo loves to bring pressure, and he's great at it. I think that's the only way you can disrupt Lamar Jackson is kind of bringing that pressure, keeping him guessing pre-snap. I'm hoping they are. I'm saying I hope the Ravens win. I think that would be the only way the Kansas City can do it. But I think they could give them some trouble. I think Mahomes against that Ravens defense, just as Matt said, it's the Mahomes factor for me is when they need a play, he always finds a way to make it. So does Lamar. And I'm just thinking, come down to the final play we saw with the Chiefs and the Bills last few years. It's just whoever has the ball last. It's not really somebody messing it up or turning the ball over. Who has the ball last? And I think this could be one of those games.
Can we talk about Pacheco for a second?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a hot take. I watched him. I admire him. I mean, he's a guy that was a 7th-round draft pick. I mean, that's value that you get in the draft. But I will say this about him, and I don't mean any shade towards your guy, and I'm about to say this. I don't think he's an uber talented running back. He's not a guy that, like, when I watch him run, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's making crazy cuts. I mean, he's like Gus Edwards. He has kind of like he just runs hard. Yeah. Exactly. I don't like watch him play and say like, ooh, he's not like a Shady McCoy. He's not like one of these guys that makes you miss. He doesn't run you over. He's just a hard runner.
He's a fundamental runner.
Right, correct.
Correct. But that's all Andy wants in that offense.
He hits the hole hard, and his feet never stop.
Yeah, moving. But I think that's the thing I have. I don't like counting on runners who don't have shiftiness. Like it's almost like you're asking a wrecking ball to go against another wrecking ball, and it's like. You need a running back that's like water. He'll bend to however the defense is playing him. To go in there, I think it's crazy. To go against Roquan and just, I'm going to go random. Nah, bro, I don't know if that's what you want to do. So it's like, that's the Pacheco thing. Look, I like Pacheco.
They got a good O-line.
They do have a good O-line. But again, I'm just saying, that's the problem I have leaning on Pacheco. It's the same reason I don't lean on Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards gets down to the 20, like 5 yards in, red zone, yeah, all day. Go ahead, do your thing. But I like Lamar. I like other guys. I like Justice Hill a little bit more in the open.
Which is why we signed Dalvin Cook.
I thought he looked good when he got
and he looked decent.
Because Gus left it. But I think to Matt's point there, to the running backs, I don't think you're going to have to lean on those guys because your quarterback's Lamar, because your quarterback's Patrick Mahomes. So it's just another part of the offense that just has to be okay.
I think if it's more involved than Gus Edwards does.
Yeah, agreed. And I think he will be. I think we've seen that every game that they've played down the stretch.
I don't know if he's talented. That's my thing.
He's not as talented as Gus Edwards.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
That's the problem.
I don't know. I think it's close.
It's definitely not close.
I think if you put Pacheco, you're telling me if Pacheco was on the Ravens, he wouldn't be getting a bulk of those carries?
What I'm saying is Gus Edwards is a lot faster than people give him credit for. Yeah. I don't think Pacheco actually has the speed that Gus has.
I don't think Pacheco has the physicality that Gus has.
Oh, see, I disagree. I think Pacheco
as a runner?
Yeah, I think he runs hard. He's a physical runner. My issue is with the cuts, like you said earlier. he runs to me with his head down.
But I think that's what makes. So who would you trust more in the red zone? 5 yards of Pacheco or Edwards?
Inside the 10 or inside the 20?
I said you hit the 5. You hit the 5 yard line.
Yeah, I give it to Gus the Bus, 100%.
But that's what I'm saying.
But it's close. It's not,
even if you did it at 10, though. Even if
I'm saying if you give me a running back for the game, I'm taking Pacheco. For the game. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, maybe we'll revisit this.
You might well take Clyde. That was hilarious.
No. Now we're going too fast.
Because here's the thing.
He's shifty.
Yeah.
He's shifty.
We're not going. People don't like to talk about this, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire got more running talent than Pacheco did.
Yeah, and that's why he was a first-round pick and Pacheco
got the dropsies.
Yeah, he got the dropsies.
Yeah.
In this offense with Mahomes and what Andy Reid likes to do too now with this Chiefs team is you just have to be a hard runner, pick up 4. If you can pick up 4 yards a pop, they'll take that all day with Mahomes. Just give them an aspect of the play action, and that's all he needs, and he'll put you guys on your heels on defense. But I think, again, this is going to be a great game. You got 2 Ravens. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs in this one. Dennis, who are you going with? Chiefs. Snug attack us here out on set, but he's going with the Chiefs 2-2. So that'll take us now to Matt's San Francisco 49ers. Taking on the Detroit Lions.
Bang, baby.
7-point underdogs are Detroit as they head on the road to take on the top seed in the NFC. The Niners, as it stands right now, still the favorites to win the Super Bowl. The Ravens right behind them there at that second spot. And there it is. Yeah, get the zoom in shot on this the full screen. That's on camera
starting
one.
Lineups.
That's what we need. I'm putting the helmet back on because he got to go to war. See, you know what I mean? You see what it is? That's that Montana thing. That's what Purdy gonna be this weekend.
Oh, they're good. And they might not even need him to be that against this Detroit Lions defense, Matt. They haven't been great, the Lions, but they've been making some plays. They've turned over Baker twice in that game. They hold on to the victory, including that game-sealing interception. So they got some playmakers now that C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back for them. Missed all the regular season. He's at safety. So they got a couple guys. The pass rush is the best part of that defense, but the Niners still 7-point favorites, big ones in this one here at home. And if you're in the NFC and maybe before the playoffs I asked, who do you didn't want? I think you maybe said the Cowboys, etc. But the Lions have been playing good football, but big underdogs to your 49ers. What do your Niners have to do to take care of business here and go to the Super Bowl?
Honestly, this is going to sound like I'm hating, but I'm not. I've said this about his whole career. I think Jared Goff is kind of a mid quarterback. People don't like to talk about it. I think he's good at what he does, but if you start getting in his head, you start hitting him, start pushing him.
Pressure.
Pressure. He don't like pressure.
Absolutely not.
Does not like it at all.
The worst.
And he can get a little bit like Brock Purdy out there, where like he starts to hurry up, starts to make really bad throws. The Ravens, for example, exposed that. And look, I'm not saying we have the Ravens, but yeah, like it can happen. Like it can happen more than people like to talk about. Because look, I give the Lions full credit. They have done everything they can to hide Jared Goff's deficiencies. They've got a dominant, really good offensive line. Penei Sewell is a monster. Great right tackle. So, like, look, all love to him. Great dude. I've seen him do some amazing plays, and just the way he covers and can just move ground.
When you saw us pulling out the...
Yeah, it's crazy. I saw him line up on the right, and he literally did a sweep where he went all the way to the side of the left. Yeah, and I said, my goodness, that's crazy. So he does things that you just can't teach. And look, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is excellent. I think the Jamison Williams is starting to come on. Laporta's a monster. Amon Green. Look, we got some guys. The Sun God is a problem. So like, look, I give it all, man. They got some good pieces. I just think it all ends and begins with Jared Goff. If we can get pressure on Goff, it's going to take a lot of those guys out of the equation.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be the key, right? Jared Goff is a completely different quarterback in two aspects. One, when he's outdoors, which he will be this weekend, first time in the playoffs. He's had back-to-back home games in that dome in Detroit. And then number two, under pressure. I know they've got one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the NFL. So that's what helped with him being so good this year and this team advancing to where they have been able to advance.
And let me say one other thing. We also have not done well the last couple of weeks with pass rush. So I know this is something. I know this is something that the Niners are going to really drill Steve Wilks. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. As a 49ers fan, we deserved to lose the game last week. I mean, they outplayed us in several aspects. Steve Wilks did not do a great job. There were certain plays that we just totally didn't cover. I mean, like I think the one touchdown in the corner we didn't cover. The 2-point conversion no one was even around. So look, Steve Wilks is going to take the A game. He's going to have to really know what he's doing with this because look, the Packers, as much as I think Aaron Jones is electric, they ain't got the offensive weapons that Detroit does. Absolutely. But Detroit ain't got the quarterback that the Packers got.
That's true.
Yeah. If somehow Love was in Detroit, man, look, it'd be a different conversation now.
I know. I think it would be. Something to think about. And
yeah,
I think the way Jordan Love has been playing, that would be fun.
I mean, this game is just going to be. This game is good for the NFL. The Niners, a blue blood team. The Lions, perennial losers, but the underdog has his day.
Mm-hmm.
I think both matchups are good for NFL. I mean, this is like football heaven, if you will. I mean, you have the perennial underdog in Detroit in the spotlight again, and you have the Niners, who are the Niners are still the gold standard. Let's just be honest about it. When you talk about teams to watch, teams to emulate, it's not America's team. I don't think America's team is America's team anymore anyway.
Nah.
No. Number one, and they haven't been for quite some time.
No.
If I were to emulate a franchise, I would emulate a Baltimore, a Pittsburgh, a KC, a San Fran, and even in recent times, a Philadelphia. Okay. I mean, you have to think about teams who have been. I know I know, but
can't say anything. You're good about
the
Eagles around Matt.
But you took a hard left just now. We just went off the cliff.
But what I'm saying is, just in recent memory.
Sure.
In recent memory.
And the organizations you mentioned, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, they've been for years and years and years.
Model consistency
20 years.
And I think the Niners' fortunes changed when they hired John Lynch. Let's just give this man a ton of credit. And then you paired him with Shanahan, and it's been night and day difference. And we talked about it earlier. Getting Trent Williams and CMC, that's – and for what they got them for, they basically stole both of those players from their performing teams. It's been a pleasure to see. But I don't know where I'm going with this game. I would love to see a rematch of Christmas night, but the way these two teams stack up against each other, as a fan, I'm just watching. I'm really just watching this game. I just want to see a good football game.
And
I don't have dog in the fight on that side, so I can't really.
I hope so too, and that's why I'm trying to show some support for the Lions. I really hope it's going to be a good game, Matt.
No,
but all the feeling I have is I think San Fran, after what we saw Saturday night, I think they win this one running away.
Bang, bang.
I really hope I'm wrong.
Here's the
God,
thing.
I hope I'm wrong.
Here's the thing. What Matt said earlier. Chase Young, they brought you out here for a reason, bro. What are you doing? You've been quiet.
We didn't see them boys last week.
And Nick Bosa, like you said weeks ago.
Bosa had some nice plays.
But he's been crickets.
Now I'm gonna say something that's controversial, but Nick Bosa do good with white quarterbacks. It's the shit.
No, it's proven. Though.
It's proven, yeah.
Things again. If they were to play, Baltimore, Jared Goff, not as shifty as Lamar
Them
Jackson.
shifty bulls that gives them trouble,
Baltimore,
boy.
That goes for everybody.
You said it, but it's been on numerous sports talk shows. It's proven. It's a proven fact. You know?
So there you go. A little
Jared Goff might be the recipe for us.
We're taking the Niners. You rolling with the Niners to win this game, or are you going to go with the Lions? I know you've kind of been on the edge here on the fence.
Yeah.
And again, that's me coming. I took the Lions to win the division. They were one of my top picks in the NFC, and I'm still going against them here. That's how confident I am in San Fran this weekend.
Give me the rematch.
Okay.
So there we go.
Bang, bang.
And quickly, we only have short time here left on the show, a few things to go over. But just to look ahead, I have some potential Super Bowl lines and odds here, depending on what to happen. So let's start here. If it were to be Detroit and Kansas City, what do you think the line on that game would be?
It would be Lions 3.5.
Yeah.
Lions getting 3 from Kansas City. So good job there. If it were to be the Chiefs and the Niners, what do you guys think?
Niners 5.
Niners -3. So Chiefs would be a 3-point underdog in that scenario. So Niners the favorites there. If it were to be Lions Ravens, what do you guys think?
Ravens 7.5.
I'll go 9.
I was thinking 7.5. A 4.5 is on the board here in Vegas right now.
Yeah,
If the Lions, so that's obviously anticipating though that the Lions.
Did they not see 38-6?
Well, I think they're anticipating if the Lions somehow beat San Fran, they obviously looked really, really good in that game. So they're kind of banking on the fact that recency bias. If they look good, they beat San Fran.
No, that's still
4.5.
That's crazy.
But that's the line. That's what we have here. And then of course the big one here: Niners and the Ravens. What do you guys got?
Niners 1.5 in Vegas. We know that I don't trust it, but
Yeah.
Niners 1.5.
I'd say 2. Yeah.
Niners 1.5. That is right here. So that's would be some potential look aheads, going forward there. And of course, in order, Niners, Ravens, Chiefs, and Lions are your odds in terms of winning the Super Bowl. So before we round out the show,
What are the Eagles' odds?
Oh man, we gotta do that. Listen, I can't wait till next year. Oh,
I'm sorry, that's my last one for the year.
No holds barred till next year. I'm telling you.
My last one for the year, man.
Well,
Yeah.
it has been a fun one.
Not
Let's
me.
close out the. I know, not you. It don't matter. Closing words here, those we wrap up here on a Monday. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on? I know we got some special things to talk about here at the end, but NBA, anything else in the sports world or anything?
Well,
at all?
2 things. I want to talk about Caitlin Clark. They got beat, and there was a court storming session, and the new angle shows that she targeted a fan and pushed that fan instead of this Karen type of excuse that she was in fear and that the woman ran into her, were clearly
Not the case.
she knocked that woman over and then did the victim flop.
Yeah, she had the LeBron flop afterwards.
Yeah, it was pretty sad, and I think that's like Caitlin Clark's got to make up her mind. Either you want to be Grayson Allen or you want to just be just a player, WNBA player. You can't be both. You got to choose one. You're either going to be the dark side or you're going to be on the
This is going
force.
back into the Angel Reese thing last year.
Exactly. So, I just don't like that type of energy. Look, if you're going to be a jerk, be a jerk. If you're not, don't try to throw a rock and hide your hand. Do it with some bravado, or don't do it at all. Last thing I also want to say is Eagles. The news is that they're keeping Nick Sirianni.
Yes,
That's the
they
news.
are indeed.
And I'm going to say this
Been making calls this
because
week.
I feel so bad for the Eagles fans. I really do. I'm not saying this for any other reason.
Don't feel bad for us yet until we get an offensive coordinator.
I do, because
if we get an offensive coordinator, then you don't have to. But until then,
you guys
You're
are in
allowed
trouble because Jeffrey Lurie has decided he wants to go with a ballless puppet as a head coach. And I'm going to say this, and people can hate me all they want, but I'd love people to know, I'd love somebody to explain, and I've been waiting for weeks since I said this. What does Nick Sirianni do? So now people are telling me they got to go out and hire really good, really old offensive and defensive coordinators. So what do they need Nick Sirianni for? To party on the side with Dom? Like, at this point, Jeffrey Lurie has proven to me one thing and one thing clear. He is not from the school of the Ravens and 49ers and Lions ownership, which says, you're a coach, you run this, I run this. He is from the school of, I'm going to put my hands in the batter as much as I can to make this cake, and when the cake comes out flat and soggy, you're going to have a fall guy, and the fall guy is all your assistant coaches. You're firing them, you're saying this, you're saying that, and you know what? At the end of the day, there's a reason why the Cowboys ain't done much, because Jerry Jones keeps putting his hands in the batter, and there's a reason why the Eagles aren't going to do much, because Jeffrey Lurie keeps playing this game that he wants to be Jerry Jones. You can't be both, dude. Either you're an owner or you're not. You're the GM. Learn from these other guys like Robert Kraft. Learn from Carmen Policy during the San Francisco days. The lady who runs the Lions, she's part of the Ford family. Learn from these people, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that school of Jerry Jones, and it don't end well for you. You're gonna be 30 years, and the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, their cheerleaders are now on AARP. So we got to figure this out. I don't know why the Eagle fans are tolerating this, but listen, Nick Sirianni ain't your guy. He's a fraud. He's a nobody, and at the end of the day, this guy couldn't coach a paper bag. And we're gonna see. But I'm gonna tell you this right now: if they fail next season, he's gonna be fired before the season.
I agree there. I agree 100%.
And Howie Roseman, you're next.
And I will say, if they do hire Jim Bob Cooter, which they might,
heavy pause.
Oh man, that would be a disaster. So I'm pleading, do not do that. That would be a disaster, Philadelphia. We don't need Jim Bob Cooter.
Why can't it just be Jim Bob? Why can't it be just JB?
Agreed. And he has been out of the NFL for a few years, so hopefully we'll figure it out. But we do have some breaking news here on the desk, here live at DETV.
Yep.
The Titans have hired their head coach. Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals, is finalizing a deal to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
That's a very mid-hire, sir.
So
I don't like that
apparently, the rumors around the league the last week or so is that his name has been one of the hottest names, low-key, in a lot of these cycles.
How?
They like the Bengals offense,
You
I guess.
fired Vrabel and hired Callahan?
They're going offense. They want offense.
But still, you fired Vrabel.
Well, that's the thing we talked about. He was one of the guys we thought wouldn't be fired, right?
You
we
fired
assumed he'd be
Vrabel.
back.
Well, they said that the rumor was the Philadelphia Eagles are going to hire Vrabel. That's been one of the rumors. But I don't see how that's going to happen.
And I
Well, I'm seeing
can't see him being a defensive coordinator.
This Ron Rivera interview for Eagles job. What are y'all doing?
I don't mind that at all. Ron Rivera can be a defensive coordinator.
Please explain why.
Why I don't mind it? Because last time Ron Rivera was a defensive coordinator was 2010 with the Chargers. Had the number one defense in almost every statistical category there was. When he won the division with the Commanders, when he took over in Washington a few years ago, defense was top notch. I mean, he didn't have a lot of players in that defense this year. The team was just awful. They had just gone through new ownership thing.
14 years.
Remember what you just said. You said
2010. Agreed.
14 years ago.
14 years ago.
I'm just saying,
players have changed, schemes have changed.
Yeah, we're coming off an era of Desai and Patricia, which was just absolutely atrocious. Like, where would you go elsewhere for a defensive coordinator? Like, you don't think it would be Ron Rivera with the
I wouldn't go Ron Rivera. I wouldn't.
There's a difference between being a defensive
I wouldn't hire a
coordinator
coach
and
that was in my division, though. I wouldn't do that anyway. That's just me. I wouldn't. That's just something I just wouldn't do.
It happens. We see that a lot, I feel like.
I mean, what is it that Ron Rivera is going to do?
That's like stand out. That's brilliant.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
He doesn't have
linebackers, and Eagles don't have any good linebacker play.
But
so that would help.
he can't play linebacker himself.
I know, but he's
so
a great linebacker coach.
You know what? I would take Jack Del Rio over Ron Rivera.
I don't know if I would take Jack. Jack Del Rio's got some questionable things going on.
But he's a better linebacker coach than that's Rivera is, if you're going to be honest about it.
I deal with him, and he supports that MAGA stuff. So I'm good with him.
And then quickly, just to say about the Caitlin Clark thing, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
You got to be aware now, right? There are cameras running at
everywhere.
all times.
That's a fact.
This happens in the NFL when these guys drop a pass and they get up like they caught it. It's like, buddy, you know. that they have it on replay. Like, they're looking at it as we speak. Don't act like you caught it when you didn't catch it. Don't act like you're going to do something nowadays because you are on camera somewhere, somehow.
Right.
So they got you. So just word to the wise there for
I
everybody.
got something to talk about. Last words.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to Coach Tara Vanderveer
What a
of
career.
Stanford, the all-time winningest coach in men or women
Yeah, past Coach K.
basketball history. 1,203 wins. Like, that's
27 Pac-12 titles,
That's-
3
that's-
national championships.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Like, you passed Coach K.
And I'm sure there are people, you say that name out there at home that are watching and go, who?
And you passed, and Tara Vanderveer has been a coach of the U.S. Olympics women's team a couple times and gotten gold medals as well, too. So she's definitely a household name.
She ain't got no titles, though.
Oh,
I'm hating.
what you mean?
How many titles she got?
They got
she won
3.
a couple. I thought she
Stanford
won
got 3 national titles.
Do they?
Yeah, they got 3.
I mean, I think she went, I think it was like 90, 92, and then she didn't win it again for
She ain't
30
better than my
years.
girl Pat Summit, though. But
Oh, no, yeah.
Pat
Oh, no,
Summitt,
no.
too.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm a Pat Summitt fan.
with that,
Pat Summitt.
listen, Pat Summitt's only because she passed away. Let's just put it out there. Her record would have been so far out of reach. But Gino Auriemma is only like
Third? He's third
8. He's
now?
only 8 wins behind
overrated.
Vanderveer.
The golf.
I mean, we gon' that's another conversation.
See, that's a conversation for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that you're right. But I want to give level credit due because
That's a fact.
we always talk about the Auriemmas and the Summits and the this and that and the Malkis, but Tara Vanderveer has been consistency for over 40 plus years.
Who's been our best player at Stanford? I'm just curious.
I would say
That's a good question.
Nneka
Yeah.
and Chene.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, I can go back a little further in the 90s, but I would say her most recognizable players and standouts, I would say Nneka's probably her best player
Right.
ever that she's ever coached at Stanford. Now, women's Olympic team, she's coached everybody. She's coached
Right.
Staley, she's coached Swoops, coached
Right.
all those guys. But
Well, congrats to her. 1,200. That's
1,200 wins in
crazy.
any sport.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like,
And again, and before we finish with a special message here from G, I just want to get you guys quickly here. We have a minute each from both of you. Pascal Siakam trade to Indiana.
Yep.
3 first-round picks. I believe a couple players I've had to go back through and look it up there. Just your thoughts on that trade initially here, for both the Pacers and obviously the Raptors kind of clearing
well,
house.
I gave my take on social media. He's not worth 3 first rounders. I don't. He's not. Like the NBA is dangling first picks around now like candy, and then they don't realize that it's gonna come back to bite you.
Gobert got 5, right?
Yeah,
That
but
trade.
then they realize that it's gonna come back to bite you
Yeah.
in the end.
So you got Toronto winning that trade.
I'm getting 3 first round picks.
And I think,
and I got players
Bruce
back.
Brown. Bruce Brown was in that deal
Yeah,
too,
Bruce
right?
Brown.
And they got Quigley in the Knicks deal.
Yeah.
They got Quigley and
For OG, yeah.
they got Quiglly and RJ in the Knicks deal. Then you turn around and trade Siakam and get first. You get
Bruce,
Bruce.
can have
Bruce Brown.
RJ.
No, but in Toronto, his usage is different. He's still a bad shot taker.
He's
That's
still Maple Mamba, man.
well, he's mad back home being Maple Mamba. He's from his hometown.
That is true. I'm sure he likes it. He's enjoying his time back up.
But yeah,
in
I don't
that.
like the trade for Indiana. I like the trade on paper as far as their starting 5,
Yeah.
but depth, no.
What do you think, Matt? Who wins this trade in your opinion? And I mean, at least help me explain it from the Pacers standpoint. Obviously, they don't have a lot to, in the years past to play for championships, wins, et cetera. Why did they make this move, do you think, now with the way Halliburton's been playing? Obviously, they're hovering around the 4 or 5 seed.
Yep.
Mathurin has been good, obviously, great draft pick the last couple of years.
Yep.
He's, been great off the bench for them.
Yep.
And now they go out and they spend that on Siakam. Why do you think they did that, and what do you think of it?
Because it's Indiana. And I mean that in the most respectful way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you look at the Pacers' history, whoever they've got through either a trade. Best one they've probably done ever is probably the trade to get Jermaine O'Neal out of Portland to them. Most of the other players,
that was nothing like that.
Yeah, that was nothing. And most of the other players like Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, Dale Davis, they've drafted all those guys. Indiana's a very hard place to get free agents to come to. Yeah. I don't think what they wanted with Tyrese Halliburton is what you saw in Portland.
Yeah.
Where we just sat on our hands and we just tried to draft the best players. Look, I'm agree with Jason. I think it was too much, but at the same time, I understand it.
They had to do it.
They had to do it
yeah.
because they have to show Tyrese Halliburton we're serious about where you go.
And I think that piece, this is probably this is probably the most talented starting five since that 04 squad on paper, if you want to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, pairing Tyrese and Pascal, it's you got Buddy Hield out there. You got T.J. McConnell as a backup. I mean, you still got Miles out there. Miles Turner playing some decent ball.
I mean, right now they're sitting right in the play-in at that 7 spot. I mean, I can see now with this trade, you give them some time. You can make their way up there.
They'll end up like 5th.
I was going to say 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're the Pacers, is that what you're happy with? You make that trade? I mean, you're not thinking, hey, we made this trade, we're going to the conference finals.
Sure.
So that's got to be what they're thinking. Is that's probably
They made
what
the
they're
trade
hoping
because
for.
they needed a secondary scorer, a consistent secondary scorer, and that's what Pascal is. He's a number 2.
Yeah.
Again, he can do some other things too. Good
But
rebounder.
But he's a glorified 2 on any team he goes on. So you have to have him, but you have to have somebody who can shoulder the load.
Yeah, like Kawhi had obviously with their first run.
And at his best, he can possibly be an All-Pro at his best, 13.
I mean, he was good that championship year for them.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good
prone
player
to that.
for sure. Yeah,
For sure.
Again, and a lot of Sixers fans disappointed that he wasn't going to Philly. We'll see. A lot of the Sixers have been in those rumors.
Daryl Morey wouldn't give it up that much.
Yeah, and I agree. He wasn't doing it.
I don't think there'd be enough balls, but I don't think there'd be enough.
In Philly to go around with that lineup.
Yeah, to go around with him, yeah.
I think Philly's great. Okay, while we still on basketball talking, I am a Boston fan. We're going to just let that be known.
Yeah.
But the way these boys playing this year in Philly.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse, baby. I said we needed him.
But it's not even that. The way this roster is constructed this year, you have hard-nosed guys who can actually still score.
They finally got. They've never had some guys they could bring off the bench. The depth was never there.
Y'all done gave Batum new life. I thought Batum.
We got Morris and Batum, Beverly. Those guys are giving valuable minutes. Yeah.
And one of the best signings of the season was Kelly Oubre. I don't care what nobody says.
And towards the end too, at the end of the offseason, right?
That was a great signing, and he loves Philly. Like the energy he brings to the team is just
great.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those guys that he'll run through a wall for Nick Nurse, and you see it. And the effect that Tyrese Maxey has on the entire team, he is the glue guy to that team. Like he's the fun, he's the joy, he's the happiness. And this is what you thought you're gonna have with Embiid and Harden, but you actually have it now for real.
Right.
But Maxey and Harden,
and
they have a window that's not going to close anytime soon.
No.
They got at least another good 4 or 5 years of this if they all stay healthy.
Yeah.
Again, a few minutes left here. We're going over our time, but I will say now the Clippers been playing good basketball too now.
Yeah.
With James Harden. I mean, we all didn't really love that for them when they grabbed Harden in that deal, but they 8-2 in their last 10, and beyond that, they've been really good now, starting to gel.
Let's talk about the sorry Lakers. You can't blame Russ List in the same record this year with them that you had without him. You had with him last year. You can't blame Russ.
You're tanking for Bronny, man.
Tanking for Bronny.
He's already watching the games in the locker room post game, man.
USC looks horrible.
Well, as we close out here, Jason, special message.
Yeah. Today we laid to rest an icon. Mr. Ted Blunt was a great man, a great leader of men, a great politician, a great teacher, a great social worker, a great activist in the community. But we are a sports show, so we are going to highlight the fact that he is the only man to keep Earl of Pearl on the bench, as he was a star player at Winston-Salem Teachers College, now Winston-Salem State, and Earl of Pearl was behind him for a year or two. And Mr. Blunt was a 2-time NIA All-American, CIAA Hall of Famer, Philly sports legend Simon Gratz. And he was just a great person to be around. The banter, the wisdom. He was a man's man. He was smooth. He was intelligent. He was charismatic. The sports world lost an icon, but the world in general. I mean, he was as big on the court as he was off the court. And I have this. We are wearing these special red buttons tonight that say "The Magician." Ted Blunt, and Dad, I'm gonna miss you. You let me call you Dad, and we always had great conversations. Even you speaking to my wife, you called her Mississippi, so they had y'all on a little thing too. So gonna miss you, and you're around the place, man. And Godspeed, and I know heaven has gained a new angel. I know Matt, you had a few words you wanted to Mr. Blunt as well.
Yeah, I mean, I got to meet him last year I always knew about him because his former coach has a son, Clarence Gaines Jr., who
Big House Junior.
Yeah, he was Big House's son, and Big House's son used to talk about Ted Blunt, and really he said his dad called him like one of the reasons why he was able to build up his program, because for a long time Winston-Salem was kind of struggling. They had some good talent every once in a while, but he was kind of the guy that came in and kind of helped create the culture change that they were doing down there. So, man, we talked, I want to say 20 minutes, and within 20 minutes, I interviewed him as well, but I didn't get a chance to really sit down with him and talk to him. I mean, to Jason's point, he had so much jewels, so much knowledge of things. We were sharing stories about old CIAA basketball people that he was like shocked that I knew guys, and we just had this immediate kinship. He gave me the warmest, and that was the other thing too about him. He was weird. Like, you met him for like a few minutes, but you thought you knew him like your whole life. And I just remember he gave me like the warmest hug and thanked me for talking to him, and I was just like, man, I feel like I knew him my whole life. So obviously I was informed that he had passed from Clarence Big House's son, who had talked about it. And I said, wow, like, it's just crazy, and I just, anybody who's out there, if you have the ability to rub shoulders with people and, just try to soak up what people have, because you never know when that person's going to be removed from your life. So I was really looking forward to seeing him again this year, really looking forward to talking to him, and we just ran out of time. So, I just want to thank him for all the warm and just beautiful words he talked to me about the game of basketball. We're going to miss you for sure.
Definitely, an honor and a privilege. I know that was the first time I met him last year, was at the Fieldhouse for the Blue Coats during their finals, their finals run. And, it was an honor and a privilege. Just so happy and excited to talk basketball with me and obviously everyone else. It was a honor and a privilege to meet him that day. And, of course, from everyone here at DETV, our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends. Again, what a life he's lived. And, again, he will be remembering him for the rest of our lives. Well, we appreciate everyone here on a Monday night. Thanks for tuning in. Championship Sunday up ahead. Wow, it's been a fun year, and we'll see if both of these guys' teams will be in the Super Bowl. That's going to be a bad Monday for me. We'll find out how it goes this Sunday. We'll see you next time.